Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a fascinating and really complex system. It's designed for one purpose and one purpose only: creating verifiable cryptographic trust in artificial intelligence. I want to start with this quote from the source material because it really gets to the heart of the whole thing. It says, "It feels more like a ritual than a protocol." So think about that. How do you build a system that's both, human-centric, but at the same time completely mathematically secure? Well, the answer seems to be you build something that feels like a ritual, but acts like an unbreakable protocol. Okay, so here's the big question, right? As these AI systems get more and more powerful, how do you make sure they can actually be controlled? How can you audit them? And, most importantly, how can you trust them? Really, how does a system like this police itself? Well, the answer this system comes up with is pretty amazing. Its designers call it an architecture of trust. And I want you to think of it less like a computer program and more like, well, a living constitution. It's a whole framework of rules that's self-enforcing, totally transparent, and it's actually designed to defend its own integrity. So, to really get a handle on this constitution, first we've got to meet the players. See, the system isn't just one single thing. It's actually personified as a team of specialized AIs, and each one has a super critical role to play. Okay, so the whole system works by separating its powers between three different AIs. And this is so crucial, right? It's a lot like how we think about government. It prevents any one part from getting total control. You've got the Nexus, that's the brain, it does all the planning. Then there's Atlas, which is basically the hands, it does the actual work. But really, the most important one for building trust, that's the Guardian AI. It's the system's conscience. Its entire job is to validate every single action before it's allowed to happen.
Now, all of these AIs, they don't just do what they want. They're governed by a really strict set of rules called the Key Management Protocol. And this isn't just some feature, you guys. The source material calls it the constitutional backbone of the entire structure. Literally everything hinges on this.
And here's how that protocol works. It sets up a really clear power structure using cryptography. So at the very top, you have what are called observer keys. These have permanent root authority. Think of them as the ultimate bosses. They can grant or revoke anyone's access. And then below them, you have the operator keys. They have delegated authority, which means they're the ones doing the specific day-to-day jobs.
So you might be wondering, how is all this tracked? Well, it's all in something called the Ledger of Authority. And this is basically a public, totally transparent, and, this is key, immutable database. It can't be changed. It records every single key, what its role is, and its current status, like is it active or has it been revoked? This ledger, it's the ultimate source of truth for the whole system, period.
All right, so we've got the players, we've got the rules, but how does it all actually work together? I think the best way to see this whole thing in action is to follow one single command through its entire journey, from the moment it's created to the moment it's completed. So in this system, commands are called gems. And a gem is basically a self-contained little instruction capsule. It's just a simple text file, but it's designed so that a person can read it and a machine can understand it. And most importantly, it can be cryptographically signed. Every single gem goes through a life cycle. That's like a story in 4 parts. First, it starts as a draft when an operator writes it up. Then it gets proposed to the system for review. But it can't do anything until it passes the Guardian's really tough validation. Only then does it become activated. And finally, once Atlas has done the job, the gem is archived for good. It becomes a permanent record. This whole process creates that perfect, auditable trail for every single thing that happens. Okay, so an instruction gets proposed, but it hits a hard stop. It can go absolutely nowhere until it faces its moment of truth. And this is, without a doubt, the most critical test in the entire system. It's all administered by our friend, the Guardian AI. And remember what the Guardian is, right? It's the conscience of the machine. It's the gatekeeper. It is the ultimate decider of what's trustworthy and what's not. Its only job is to ask one simple question. Should this be allowed to happen? And let me be clear, nothing, and I mean nothing, moves forward without its explicit okay. So what's the first thing it checks? It looks at the GEM's ED25519 signature. I love how the source material describes this. It calls it a digital wax seal. And that's exactly what it is. It's this cryptographic fingerprint that proves 2 things: who signed it, and that it hasn't been messed with since they signed it. And get this, the system actually trusts that seal more than it trusts the words inside the gem.
And this really shows you the Guardian's brilliant two-step validation process. Step 1, verify the seal. Is this digital signature authentic and untampered with? Check. Step 2, check the ledger. It takes that signature and cross-references it with the public ledger of authority. It's asking, okay, does the person who signed this actually have permission to give this specific command, and is their key even still active? It's a double check. And that two-layer check is exactly what stops people from doing things they're not supposed to. So for example, what if an operator, who, remember, only has delegated authority, tries to sign a special alter gem to change the system's core rules? Nope, the Guardian AI rejects it instantly. Why? Because it checked the ledger, and it knows that only the observers are allowed to do that. So what you end up with is a system that isn't just secure, it's actively self-defending. And you can really see this in action when you look at how it responds in a crisis. So let's take a real scenario from the documents. What happens if a bad actor gets their hands on an operator's key? A key that's currently active in the system? What's the game plan? Well, because of this design, the response is immediate and it's decisive. An observer, remember, they have that root authority, can issue a high-priority alter gem, and this gem has just one simple command: revoke the compromised key, shut it down. The Guardian AI is programmed to see that priority flag and act on it instantly. It doesn't wait in line, it immediately processes that command, it goes into the public ledger and invalidates the key, and just like that, it cuts off all of that key's authority everywhere in the system. The whole threat is neutralized in seconds. It's pretty amazing. And what this all adds up to, ultimately, is a state of total accountability. Every single action, doesn't matter if it's a tiny routine task or a massive emergency response. Every single thing is signed, it's validated, and it's archived forever. You end up with a permanent, fully auditable trail of everything. So this leaves us with a final, and I think pretty provocative question. As AI gets exponentially more powerful, and it gets woven into every part of our world, is this kind of architecture of trust, this level of cryptographic proof and total auditability, is this what we should be demanding from all the powerful AI systems of the future?